Hey guys, tonight I'm going to be reviewing Yellowjackets Season 2 Part 1, so episodes 1 to 5. I feel like it's a good time to jump in and review because we're halfway through the season, and if you've seen it, you know that we just got to like a big shocker, big stunner of what happened, not just at the end of episode 5 but the middle of episode 5. So let's go. Yellowjackets. I heard about this show and I didn't watch it when it was on in 2021. I actually tuned in later in 2022 and kind of watched binge the series. And the opening sequence, obviously if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about, hits like all the right spots in every single note. Like everybody loves like a cult, everybody loves Girls Gone Wild, and everybody loves like, you know, the more twisted the better, American Horror Story. Like that's kind of what we want when we tune into anything that's a bit dramatic and anything that's got like a supernatural or just a kind of twisted cult vibe. So they hit every box with like a terrifying opening sequence that was so well done of Pit Girl, and you know, this is teenagers who've been stranded after a plane crash, pretty much basically all teenage girls, and they're being as brutal, as carnal, and literally as kind of like wicked as possible. I mean, they're being primal, like beasts from what we get in that opening sequence. It looks so twisted, it looks so messed up, you can't tell who anybody is, you know. Chef's kiss, brilliant. I was so on board. So then I watched the whole 10 episodes and I was pretty let down and disappointed. I don't know if I've really heard this take too much from too many other fans of the show. I think a lot of other people, it did hit the spots throughout the season, so maybe I'm the twisted one that wanted it to be like as twisted as possible. But we got such a like exciting messed up opening, and then for 10 episodes we really don't see the characters get to that point at all. We just see them doing like survival in the forest. And if you've seen a show called The Wilds on Amazon, you kind of, it's like the same story, but it's set in like modern times and it's on a beach. And I think it's just done a little bit better and the characters are just a little bit more interesting. So maybe because I'd seen that, I found like the first series of Yellowjackets, just like I was waiting for like the really twisted, exciting moments when these people did these unforgivable things. And we never really got even a hint of like when they were going to get there. Right at the end of the season, we get the interesting Doom coming episode, and we get the bullying of Jackie that does lead to her dying on her own outside. So that was exciting, but it only happened right at the end. So coming into series 2, I was like, I really want to see, like, are we going to get this? Are we going to, you know, are they going to step it up? And I feel like it needs to come quite quickly. We don't want to be like teased anymore. So kind of my main like review and like question going into the series is, are we going to get it? Are we going to be satisfied? And I feel like they've definitely stepped it up. I think also just in like production and just in like the way they're kind of telling the story and like the actresses, I think everything's kind of stepped up. And we got the great like twisted storyline of Shauna, you know, posing Jackie's body and eventually eating her ear. I mean, the first episode of the second season ends with that moment of her deciding to eat her friend's ear. So we are definitely getting it, and they're stepping it up, and I think they're trying to take us there in a naturalistic way to see how these girls who were and are still in the future quite good people could be driven to that point. So they're kind of trying to do it in a realistic, naturalistic way. So I like it, and I think they've done pretty well. In terms of like my main thing though, are we getting, I'm kind of tuning into this for like a thrilling horror and to be shocked, you know, and to kind of see like Game of Thrones level betrayals and things like that. Like we're not getting that, and something about the showrunners for some reason wants to hold back. Maybe they'll give us it like in a bombastic way, it's all going to come out. Maybe they're going to throw everything at us, shock us, like maybe they've got some real tricks up their sleeve. They probably do, but you know, at the moment that's kind of my main review, main kind of like, it's not really a complaint because there's other things to compliment, but it's something that I kind of want from the show. And like if I was in the room with them, that would be the thing that I'd be like asking for. I think a lot of people might disagree with me. I think they like the naturalistic, realistic way. However, we have just finished episode 5 and we have had 2 very interesting developments. So the first one I'll get into is Misty. And Misty, like her character in the past, like her young character, Sammy Henrassi, I think, playing her, all the scenes of her in the past, like I really do, I feel for her so much. Like it's just horrible seeing someone get like bullied and like left out and let down by that and being kind of isolated almost for like no reason. And one of the best kind of storytelling points they had in series 1 is that she is the one, potentially we don't know for sure, she's the reason they didn't get rescued. We do know that she destroyed the flight recorder, which is pretty much an unforgivable thing to do, but I think it's a really clever way to like get us to that point of kind of sympathising and empathising with her, and then she does that. And I do like that character a lot, but none of the characters I'm like in love with. There's not one that I'm like fully like with is my favourite. But I definitely like her. I love when she comes on screen. And then her story just got even more sad and messed up in episode 5, where she admits to her only friend that she's made this series what she did. The friend is obviously shocked and disgusted and thinks that she's kind of unforgivable. I was kind of finding it kind of exciting. She's like, oh, I'm going to kill you if you tell anyone. And I was like, oh, God, is she? Or what's she going to do? Is she going to make it so nobody believes that girl? I don't know if I would wanted to see her kill the girl, but what was even sadder is that because she's getting close, trying to threaten her, because, you know, everything is on the line for her in that moment, her friend backs away and ends up falling off the mountain. So it's like manslaughter, you know. I mean, I know a lot of people would call it murder, but I think from what I was watching, she gets close to her, intimidating her. She doesn't realise how on the edge they are, and then the girl falls back. So yeah, of course she's got some culpability, but she really didn't want to do it. She didn't want to be a murderer. So her story just got even sadder, but it's kind of a brilliant thing that's been baked in, is that that's what Misty's been dealing with, and that's a whole other element that's been going on with her character. She's obviously now going to pretend that girl just fell, like, well, just that she got lost, and that ended up happening to her. So that is a pretty thrilling, good development. I think that's probably the most interesting thing that's happened this season. And then obviously, end of episode 5, we've seen that Shauna has finally is gone into labour. So what the show does great is kind of concealing lots of things that have happened in the past, going into the future and not explaining how things happened or why things happened, or like what the outcome of certain thing was. And in this case, like, where did the bloody baby go? I've heard a theory of who the baby actually is in the present day. So it's a pretty good one. I won't give it away, but I think it could be possible of going off somebody's screen time. So now we're finally going to see the baby, see the pregnancy, see if the pregnancy came out successful, which, like, I'm guessing it's not going to be, oh, it was just a miscarriage. And then, like, what do they do with it? Who ends up taking it? Who ends up mothering it? Who ends up eating it? Like, yeah, I'm glad that we're finally getting to that point, and just kind of shows that we're cracking on and getting to some answers. In terms of the whole supernatural thing, that's with Lottie. Like, I really like Lottie. In fact, Lottie's probably my favourite character. She's kind of the most interesting. They're still holding back. Her supernatural thing is kind of a healing thing. She's kind of a reluctant leader, and it's slowly kind of building up to what she might do in the forest, but she hasn't full gone like the Witch of the Woods, so I'm like, come on, give that to us. But that is kind of what's happening in the past that we're watching, and it is pretty gripping. We've now had Travis's brother come back, and we don't know how he survived in the wild for all that time. So again, pretty gripping stuff, and I can't wait to find out what kind of the answer was with him, and then how he kind of vibes with everybody, considering what went on at like Doomcoming. I think that's going to be like quite a kind of societal like commentary kind of storyline they might be doing on like relationships between like the sexes out there. So I think that's going to be good. I think that might be quite intense. We shall see. We shall see. So obviously the whole other element that I have to talk about is that this show doesn't just take place in the past and in the woods when the girls got lost. It also jumps 25 years into the future and covers them in the present day now, when the survivors, and we don't know exactly who has survived, but season 2's kind of given us more answers that Lottie and Van also survived. We see them now as like 40-year-old women and the kind of lives they're living. They've gone on to live relatively normal lives, especially kind of Shauna and Taser and Van. Lottie and Natalie have been a little bit more wayward. Obviously with Lottie, we finally got how she's running like a modern day cult, so I do enjoy that. I do enjoy a cult. I do enjoy seeing them drinking their ashwagandha and maca cacao drinks. It just makes me want to go to Bali and Tulum and drink all those things myself. Her cult like doesn't seem too twisted yet, but who knows what's kind of in store. They're obviously getting us to empathise with Lottie a little bit, so I'm glad we've got that, because it makes the present day more interesting, especially with kind of the kidnap of Natalie. Misty's storyline I'm also kind of enjoying in the present day, even though I feel like the Christina Ricci character kind of like, it's kind of a caricature and kind of takes away kind of like the soul that I think the younger version has. But I am glad she's got like a love interest, because it just makes her thing a bit less like depressing, and we'll just see what goes down with her and Elijah Wood. With Shauna, who I think is kind of the main character of the show, I feel like she kind of is the centre of the story. I feel like that's what's in the showrunner's kind of brains. This whole thing where she killed this lover who wasn't even blackmailing her, now the police are kind of involved, now her daughter's kind of getting involved with the police. it's a big distraction. I'm not really feeling it with this show, and I know this is kind of blasphemy to say, I kind of wish it would all just take place in the wilds back with the teenage versions of themselves. It's not that I'm against like a time jump, a past and present thing. If anything, usually I don't like flashbacks in a show. Obviously, these flashbacks I'm going to enjoy because that's where like the meat of the story, the human meat of the story is. And it's not like I can only relate to like the teenagers. Like I can relate to like the women who are like, you know, older and stuff. Like there's loads of stories I like where the characters are older. But it just drags. The stuff in the forest is so interesting. I just kind of want to spend the whole time there. And especially like when we have these things that aren't really related and these things aren't necessarily giving us like answers, and the characters like they can be a bit jaded, and it's like, is that actually like a real juicy storyline going on with say somebody like you know, like a Van or whatever? It's like, I think it can definitely get there, but it doesn't really do it for me, and it's probably more of like a my preference thing. But I just think they kind of need to step it up. And with Shauna, like Melanie Linsky, she's such a great actress and she really draws you in. Like, but that performance of like that, I am a little weird and I'm like this normal suburban house mother and I look like so, you know, ordinary. I kind of like look like dowdy, but actually I skin people alive. I've eaten my friends. And I speak very softly and have this glazed look in my eyes. Like, she's a great performer, but I feel like it's a little bit one note. I feel like it hits kind of the same beats. I kind of know what she's going to do with a lot of her scenes, which is sacrilege to say because she's like an amazing actress. So I hope you can kind of understand what I'm saying, because obviously the performance is great. I just feel like the character's kind of one note, and I don't know, like, it's probably going somewhere really interesting, but it needs to kind of get there sooner. Thaís' storyline is interesting. I think I've guessed a real twist. Again, I won't give it away, but I think she might be kind of innocent of the things she thinks she's done, and I think there might be something quite sad going on behind the scenes, and hopefully it's going to be resolved and she's going to be back in a somewhat happy family. But I could be wrong with my theory, so we will see. So that's kind of my review of Yellowjackets. That was all just kind of off the cuff, and I suppose it wasn't that complimentary, but honestly, ignore me, because I know a lot of people love this show. I know they're bringing some fabulous things. With the setting that we've got and with the things they've introduced, it's going to get magnanimous and cantankerous and glorious. So stay tuned. The first half of Series 2 has definitely already stepped it up from Series 1, and I think, like in Series 1, some of the more twisted, exciting things happen towards the end, so God knows, who knows what we're going to see by the end of Series 2, by Episode 8 Series 2. I think we're going to see the characters really go on a dark turn and have some real moral questions coming up, so bring it on, stay tuned. Sorry, I'm in a pink jacket, not a yellow jacket, and I will see you soon. Hope you're enjoying. Please let me know your thoughts and comments down below, because with this show, I'm not as into it, as into the lure, as into like the theories as a lot of people, and as I am with some shows. That's probably why my review like holds back a little bit. So I'd love to kind of like get your thoughts and see how you can kind of like tell me what I'm missing in the show. All right, stay safe in the woods, lots of love, and I'll see you soon.